Good afternoon and welcome to Let's Grow Shopping. And I thought I'd give you a quick update on the state of the food forest. So in 2020 I made a video on how I dug the swales and how to create a forest, and now 4 years later, after I planted the trees, so I planted the trees in July 2020, so this was grass in February 2020. Planted the trees. Since then everything's grown up. I'm just going to give you a quick update on what we've got growing, and I wanted to do it right now because the swales are au naturel. I've dug all the wood chip out of the paths and put it on the garden beds. As you can see, the lovely black soil, and I just wanted to give you a quick tour and show you what I'm doing and what I was designing when I dug these. So start at the top of the hill. Well, I'll just say I counted the trees in here just to see what the goal was, and there's 25 fruit trees. There's quite a few natives. There's a banana circle, heaps of herbs, small veggies like kale, nasturtiums, strawberries, loads of stuff on the floor. I grow other bananas in the swales themselves just to chop down for mulch and biomass. And there's some native fruit, like there's a sandpaper fig right in front of you. And so we'll start at the top. And so this is the level spreader that the water that comes out of this pipe comes from the driveway. So I didn't want the first swale to be full of fruit trees that potentially could be drinking water contaminated with stuff from cars, oil, and other kinds of detritus off the driveway. So this first bed is like the filter for the rest of it, for that water. And so in this bed you've got this sandpaper fig closest to the camera. I can't even remember what it might be a nope, I can't even remember what the next tree is. It's a shrub at the moment, but it's supposed to grow as a tree. The Gaimea lily. And then this awesome Davidson plum tree. The guy who sold me that told me to keep the roots wet and the leaves in the sun. And man, it has gone crazy. And if you're wondering where I bought that from, it was I think it's Bongala Gardens in Annandale. Fantastic place. So I've got banner grass around the edge of the forest, which is to provide a windbreak, and there's going to be a house next door eventually, so we wanted some kind of screen. I think this tree's a lily pilly directly in front of you. You can see all the young banner grass growing up. I chopped this front row down, and so it's all sprouting now from the roots. And there's two coffee trees there, which have taken ages to get to knee high, so see how that goes. Hopefully this spring they'll take off. They're starting to show signs of life now. And then on this, the first sort of proper fruit tree swale, this is a white sapote nearest to the camera, tall and thin. There's a pear, and well, there's a banana, and then the pear. The banana, I've just chopped about 10 banana seedlings out of this little patch. I always leave one to grow, and then when the next ones come up I chop the older ones down for mulch. And then the one at the end, the bigger one, is the pear, is a peach tree, and this one has gone. This was giving fruit within a year and a half. I had to take 300 peaches off it after a year and a half because I didn't want it to fruit for the first 2 years. So then the next year we had a proper crop of peaches, but it's starting to flower already, which is amazing. It's really budding. I'll see if it's actually got little peaches at the top, which is a bit weird. It's a bit early. And then beyond that is an avocado that's not particularly happy. I think it's in a good spot in terms of heat, but if you look on the floor in this swale I'm stood in, it's been raining heaps lately and it's a bog. The floor of the first swale is an absolute bog, and if it's like that underneath that avocado, it's not going to be happy. It needs really well draining soil, and it's been like that for ages. I'm hoping the weather sort of calms down and we get more sun. And then past there is the banana circle. So there's a bunch ripening. If I can get it in the picture. And I've put an A-frame under it so that it'll stay up and not just dangle on the floor. But there's a big bunch ripening. Right, I just want to show you what I've dug on the floor for this first swale. So hopefully you're not getting too much seasickness with the camera moving around. So the first swale, you can see the trench that I've dug all the way along the front of there. So everything that comes out of that level spreader pipe on the left, this swale, when it's really hammering down, and we have had some big rain since I've dug these swales. In March 2021, in 9 days we had 500 mil of rain. And so when that kind of rain happens, this trench is, when it's even full of wood chip, it's full of water, so it's just one big puddle. And I'll just follow it along. So when it overflows, I dug out the end. A bit of water stays in. I put a little lip there so some water stays in, but the rest of it flows through the wood chip and down into the next swale. So stopped it going down the path and just running off the block, and it goes into the next swale. And so if I follow that swale down this way, I've blocked that one off. So these first two swales are a sort of little system on their own, and they have to get quite a bit of water in them before they overflow. And so you can see that step there on the left hand side of the path. It's got to fill up about 100 mil before it overflows that and goes into the next swales. And so back in the day, before this was what it is now, that ramp, that comes from, it used to be pretty much a clear path down various levels from the driveway, and all the water from the driveway used to come down this path straight down the concrete ramp, and then straight down roughly that path and off the end of the cliff. But now I've dug in the floor a big sort of sink at the bottom of the ramp, and you can see I've left the shovel there on purpose so you can see roughly, like the old grass level is roughly that banana trunk at the top of the shovel. So we're looking 200 mil deep holes in the ground, and the pipe is my drip line irrigation. So you could, like, that's my reference point when I've dug the hole deep enough, when I'm getting the wood chip out. So we're stood in the bottom of the third trench down the hill, and so this one forks, and so both of these should fill up with water. I think the one on the right is lower down. Any excess water out of the far end of the swales comes down this as well. So this is the end of the third swale, and you see I've sort of dug that a little scoop out of the side, and hopefully water that overflows this end will flow into this swale. We've walked down this swale and not described what we've got. Another peach tree in full bloom. And then further down there is a pear tree in the middle and a quince at the end. And so we've had peaches since this started. For the last at least 2 crops of peaches, maybe even 2.5 or 3. We've never had a pear. Like, they have been extremely slow to get going. And we had our first crop of quinces last summer, which was great. We made a lot of quince paste. These 2 trees on the 3rd fruit tree sort of swale are 2 plum trees. We've had a couple of plums, but nothing great yet. So we're coming up 4 years. We're coming up 4 years, so hopefully soon they start fruiting. And in between the 2 plum trees, I've just got to give him some limelight. He used to have a face. But that's Freaky Frankie, the scarecrow, in his best cricketing whites and boots. So we'll carry on. At the end of this swale, when I started, there's a fig tree there, and in that tall trunk in the middle is a casuarina, a native Casuarina, and then this big tree, which has grown like wildfire since we put it in, is an ice cream bean tree, which is more tropical, but it's loving it here. And both the Casuarina and the ice cream bean are nitrogen fixers, so they're doing great things for the soil under there. And so you can see on the floor, this 4th swale, I'll look back down the path, you can see at the other end where the fork was. These 2 are their own little system as well, and they just fill up. So once they're full, they overflow into the last proper swale, which is this one. And I'll just describe what's in this one first. There's a fig tree closest to the camera. It's supposed to be a citrus tree underneath this behemoth of a avocado, which is, the avocado wasn't even supposed to be there, but it's come out of the compost I put on, and I've let it grow, and it's probably one of the best performing trees in here, which is just weird because the one I planted is not. The one I bought is not, but this one, hopefully it gives fruit eventually. And then on the end of the bend there is the apricot, which again has grown really, really well, but we have had maybe 2 or 3 apricots off of it, and we never actually got to eat them, the birds did. So I'm hoping this year apricot is going to be one of our main crops. And so I'll just back up a bit. And you can see in this swale, I've left a bit of the old wood chip in, and you can see what it looks like. So the 2 banana trunks along the path are roughly where the grass level was before we started. And you can see there's tree roots in the swales, but it's just the fine roots. And I'm pruning these trees every year anyway, so I don't let them go much higher than what they are at the moment. I just keep pruning them back, and so trimming the roots I don't think is that much of a problem. The one tree that is kind of very frustrating is the fig trees in the front garden as well as the back. The fig tree roots are unbelievable. They will crawl through 1-year-old wood chip and form a mat, and they are, wow, it makes it really hard to dig it out. But the rest of the trees seem to have got the message that I renew this wood chip, and most of the roots of the other trees are just at that surface level between the wood chip and the previous ground level. So yeah, you can see the section that I haven't dug out there, sort of the length of that banana tree trunk. And then on the final mound at the bottom, I've got a little fig tree at the at the end here that's not really doing that well because it doesn't get as much light as the rest. Another white sapote which is doing great, and a yellow sapote at the end there which is bushed out. And that's a transplant from somewhere else because it wasn't growing where it used to be, but it loves it here, so happy days. And so this last sort of path is just that, it's just a path. I haven't dug it out to any depth. I just put maybe 50mm, 100mm of wood chip on this path. But beyond that is all natives. So that can you see the fence through there? There's a black aluminium fence through the trees. That's the cliff edge. And so these lily pillies are, if I'm going to get a bushfire, it's going to come from the direction I'm looking at the moment. And so lily pillies are a touch fire resistant. I won't say fireproof, but they'll do a bit better than most, especially eucalypts, at resisting a fire. And they're providing a windbreak, which is great. And so yeah, this last swale is all natives, which is sort of the interface between me and, I guess, nature over the back down the cliff. And they've done really, I've lost quite a lot of natives in here with heat, and there's not a lot of soil in parts of this garden, and so they get scorched very easily. And so I've had to have a few goes, but now it's starting to get established and I'm quite happy with it. So some of it, I got midgeon berries and that in there, but most of it is just for flowers and smells and something different in the garden really. I've got a lot of fruit, so it might as well have a few natives as well. And so if I do a U-turn, you can look back. So that last swale fills up a sort of bowl at the end. I'm stood where the puddle used to be at the end of the garden when the water came straight down this path in front here. And so I dug all that bit out to sort of swallow up a whole heap of water, so that has to fill up before it will go off the end of the cliff. So yeah, I was just trying to get as much water as possible to slow down on my own property before it went off onto someone else's. And then down this side of the swales, I planted a macadamia tree, which has took ages to get going again, but now it has. It's really going. I have to stand back. It's going crazy. Hopefully we get some macadamias. It's flowered once, but we didn't really get any macadamias. And then on this mound in the middle here, I'm building the soil up. I used to have a bench there, or the bench, and I've decided I'm going to put a fruit tree there because someone explained to me the delights of jaboticabas, and so I've got one in a pot waiting to go in here once I've reworked that a bit and made it into a nice garden bed. Oh, actually, it does give you a great opportunity to see. That's mostly, well, it's all the mulch out of the path. So it's just fantastic soil. You can't beat it. Let's have a close look. Oh, it's just amazing stuff. Like I said before, it doesn't even get your hands dirty. It's fantastic. It's full of worm castings. And then in that other sort of bottomless pot I've got there, it's a mango tree. And that nearly fell over, so I've had to, it's looking very sort of lopsided because it nearly fell over and started growing up from being lopsided. And so I've had to stand it up with supports, and now it's starting to grow properly again, which is great. And so that is that. So everything's growing pretty well. We're approaching the point. Oh, I forgot to mention this tree here, the wampy tree. It's hiding behind the avocado. The Chinese wampy tree. And that's, yeah, I've tasted them before at somebody else's house and they're fantastic. So hopefully that does pretty well as well. So yeah, we're approaching sort of 4 years now, and at 5 years everything should be fully fruiting and pumping, I'm hoping. But we're really happy with it, the way it's gone so far. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.